Hello, travelers. Boardman21 here, and today again with LizardIRL, and we're going to do part 2 with the tier list. This will be all skills for the Mage. So let's go ahead and get started. Lightning Blast.
A Lightning Blast for me has to be S+.
I could see S+, yeah. Single target's crazy.
Yeah, more damage everywhere, lightning ages, base crit chance.
Not
You can buy
not nerfable though. I think it's fine where it's at. Maybe a slight damage nerf. But
I think they can nerf the more damage. And I think what they need to do is they need to fix how shock and lightning shred interact. And that would be I think lightning as a whole, the fact that they can get double pen over everything else just makes lightning stupid, right? So if they nerf that, I think Lightning Blast will basically lose like 100% damage multiplier, and that already would be. It would still. And Foe's Lightning Blast hits the dummy for 500k, right? Mine doesn't because I don't have the gear. But the fact that that's possible, yeah, it's a bit scary. It's definitely S+. Now, it is a skill that's you're gonna need hands to play this. It's not gonna be one of those abilities that you put it on and boom, you're gonna push 1,000 waves. No. Mage is a class that requires a lot of knowledge, and it's quite squishy, right? So while the damage is absolutely broken, you still need to know what you're doing. And I think I don't really mind when things are really strong if they are kind of hard to play, right? There's many abilities that they're really good on good hands, but if you give that to a new player, maybe it's not gonna be as good, right?
Oh yeah, I agree.
S+ for me.
Yeah, super strong skill. Recently was doing some testing with it. I wanted to do a build with a cold version of it. It's actually bugged right now. If you do cold version, it still scales with lightning damage. Found that out. So cold damage can do just as much as the lightning damage version because you can do the lightning damage with Aegis and doubled if you have the 300 mana. So those idols still work for it.
Interest EAG, nice.
Yeah, I was gonna do a build on it, but it's just one of those things where just using Lightning Blast by itself at endgame is kind of why do that when you could just do Elemental Nova, especially since I was wearing all the same gear. But it is a super powerful, hard hitting single target skill that does a lot of damage. So it's definitely S+ worthy. And
the fact that it's 0 mana leveling and you can just chain everything and you have more damage on it.
Yeah, free during leveling, and then at endgame, just about anything in the game procs it, so you can use it with just about anything.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Too. Yeah.
All right, Elemental Nova.
In the same tree, in my opinion. I think a lot of what breaks this ability is the fact that how stun and shock and everything works. I think if they fix this, the ability would be okay, actually. I think it might be hitting a bit too many times per second also. I think Fo mentioned me that Spark Novas are also kind of back with it, and they're proccing way too much. Also, the node that makes it lightning, it gives it 20% more critical strike chance, which is not something that I've seen in the game, and I wouldn't be surprised if they touch it because it's a bit bonkers. You can use a staff and still have 100% crit chance because it's lightning. Yeah, lightning gets double the crit chance on Mage anyway, right? Because of the passives. S tier, absolute bonkers, easy to play. You can get it on teleport. It's definitely the best Mage build, right? Nova, Lightning Blast, these two together, it's by far the best. It can't really compete with anything else. And it's still weaker than everything we have here. And it's still the most broken thing the Mage has. So, but compared to Necro, it's out there,
yeah, it's very versatile. I like the different elements of the skill tree. You can build into it many different ways. Lightning obviously being the strongest, and then of course that getting to crit chance so easily. The spark charges having their own AOE and them having that 100% on hit. It is a ridiculous skill. Yeah, there's too many hits with it. I mean, 5 hits a second with 5 spark charges per second, just ridiculous.
And shock and shred. And armor shred now.
Yeah, applying all of those 10 times per second is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
All right, Static Orb.
Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention that Elemental Nova also is the tankiest Mage build because you do the Orions, Priest Wraps, Ashen Crown combo where you basically all your damage is basically elemental, right? That you take, and you get all the damage mitigation. Yeah, but yeah, let's move on. Orb. Orb, first, it's gonna get rework, right? So whatever we say now, well, bye-bye next patch, right? Really cool ability. Really crazy damage. Really crazy OE. To be honest, really cool effects. Bad thing about it, gets blocked by walls. And the casting animation is a bit weird. If it wasn't clunky to play, it's kind of hard to kite with it. I think it would be a really good skill. It's kind of hard to aim when enemies are running at you and not with your... I think it's really good on mono and really bad in arena. Say it's probably like... I mean, the damage is definitely S, but the playability is definitely A. So I would be in that realm, personally, of between S and A. I know you like it a lot, so you're gonna say S.
Yeah, I'm gonna say yes. Yeah, it's super powerful. I like the skill. Just in general, the playstyle of it. You know, you gotta always be on the move. Gotta dodge things because of that animation cast time where you cast it, and then it takes a while for it to finally explode or get hits, and then it does the spark novas or however you decide to build it. But that amount of time where you've got to be on the move, you have to be. It's not like Elemental Nova where you can just target it anywhere on the screen, just destroys everything. Now, while it does similar damage, you have to be a lot more careful with it. I don't know if you saw the build I just literally put out.
Yeah,
today.
I've seen it.
It's
the 1 million
damage,
DPS.
Yeah, the damage is ridiculous on it. Like it's crazy. You can take out Orbis, empowered Orbis in seconds. It's just dumb. For me, it's an S tier just because you can teleport and have mirror images and still, with other skills, be able to make it into corruption, into empowered, into the arena. Arena is actually when you get to a point where you get the mana regen on it, to where you have as much mana regen as you need to cast it.
Yeah.
So for me in arena, I wouldn't use Arcane Ascendance. I wouldn't increase its mana cost. If you can get to the point where you can spam it without using it, I have gameplay of it. You can literally not move in the arena and have Spark Novas in a complete circle around you, so that nothing can ever get a chance to attack you. They're just dying instantly. So it is
actually,
powerful.
I haven't tried it with the new mana regen from this patch. So my experience with the skill is from the previous patch where mana was an issue, right? So that I can definitely see how that helped. Where you can just you basically became a turret, right?
Yeah.
With this cluster bombs, basically, right? But if you compare it to the other lining, like Nova and Blast, it's just it's just so unsafe in comparison.
Yep, you do get lightning ages, almost 100% uptime with it. But
really cool.
That's about it.
It is a really cool ability, and but again, for me also the cast time, the animation feels a bit outdated. And the ability is getting reworked for a reason, right? And to be honest, hopefully they don't go too far away from what it is, because I think it's really cool.
It does look like it's going to work completely different with the new animation. The explosion, to me, it looks like instead of Spark Novas, you're getting Lightning Blast kind of
lightning
spark
blast
sounds.
Yeah.
So it's
like
going to be different.
Like a Volcanic Orb, and instead of Sharpnel, throws a Lightning Blast. Well, Lightning Blast is going to be even more uses for it, even more.
If those are lightning blasts, it's going to be powerful. If those are just its own little thing, we'll see.
Like tendrils or something,
Yeah. All right, Snap Freeze.
I mean, from all the utility abilities that you can have, it's probably the worst on Mage, right? It's I feel like so many times, because it's a cone and stuff, you want to use it to save you, and it actually ends up killing you. Because you turn around to cast it, and by the time you're turning around, you got hit by a tiger, you get stunned, and you die, or you miss the tiger because it's kind of tight in the front of you, right? It's kind of cool to freeze bosses and stuff. If you're doing a freeze build, I would put it I don't know, C, B maybe. I don't really like it. I think it's really clunky, and I don't really like it.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it. I do think there's very easy ways for them to make it much better. I do think it's a very powerful. I mean, the fact that you can guaranteed freeze something, against bosses, super useful. When there's an ability coming from the boss, you can take it out. You can cancel it. I wish that it had a passive ability inside of it, a node where when you take a hit, kind of like Flameward does when you get stunned, it auto procs it. If you
Yeah,
could
yeah.
have something like that that bypasses the cooldown, so if you take a hit from a tiger, you know, that jumped up on you, it could freeze everything around you.
Or if you could make it a circle around you, that would be nice, you
Yeah,
know, because
a full
you could
AoE
just
with
proc
it.
it and yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's one of those abilities you can tell this ability is like
old.
old. But yeah.
Yeah. Mana Strike.
Okay, I know you love it. Okay, first things first. It's a cool ability. The fact that you can get mana, you know, it has lost a bit of its signature of being the generator for Spellblade, since Firebrand is just, even though it sucks to play, it's just broken, right? I do really like the spell version of it, you know, that can cast like spells and stuff. I think it is really cool. But I think it's a good build. But it's, for example, I was playing it the other day and I was thinking, okay, why would I play Mana Strike over Firebrand, or why would I play Mana Strike over Elemental Nova? Right? If I just want to do lining from a distance. So for me, it's kind of like in the A territory. It's a really good utility for the mana. You can do some cool stuff with mana cost and crit chances and on all the stuff on the bottom of the tree. I do really like the aesthetics of the ability. I think they need to make the targeting better without having to grab the auto-aiming thing. Yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of love, I think, but it's a cool ability. I think it's pretty balanced, but nothing too crazy, nothing too weak. It's like has a lot of versatility, but it's not. I feel like it's not the best at anything anymore. I mean, you can get a lot of mana on crowds, but again, if you get close to a crowd, you might get one shot with the current state of the damage on the game. So yeah. I don't know, what do you think? You played it way more than me, once again.
Yeah, Mana Strike for me, I love it for the mana regeneration aspect, using it to get mana back. Outside of that, I do love the Lightning Blast, or not Lightning Blast, but the Lightning Strikes that you can get with it, the Thunder. It's very anesthetic. It looks great. It feels great when it happens. You know, you in melee range, you hit it and just lightning comes out. Looks great. You love it. The damage for me, mediocre. Doesn't like, it's not super high, doesn't do crazy damage, especially if you're level 100 in empowered content. It feels rather weak. Being in melee range that often, usually going to get you killed. It doesn't generate enough ward, in my opinion. It does generate quite a bit, but it just needs, you know, it doesn't have that 40 mana cost, so you don't get any of the passives inside of your tree for the ward gain. You just get what the mana skill gives you. So for me,
and it's not like ward is really appealing now anyway, compared to just going live with endurance and stuff, right? So, or armor.
For me, it's a B. You know, I probably wouldn't.
B.
Yeah, I wouldn't use it over, you know, marrow shards or anything else for damage. It's in an arena. If you're pushing arena, you'd rather have focus to stay away from mobs. You're not going to want to risk it. In empowered content, it can get to the point, if you go high enough in corruption, you no longer want to use it. You know, you want to stay away, focus. So like at endgame, at true endgame, it just kind of falls off there at the end. It feels great for leveling up. I've used it many times. Feels great, but endgame, true endgame.
With Glacier and stuff, the classic combo.
Yeah.
All right. Fireball.
Yeah, this used to be one of your favorites, or still is.
It is for sure, and especially next patch. Ooh, spicy. With that lining set, I think it's an S. It's not as good as Lightning Blast, Elemental Nova, but I mean, I pushed it on a weekend tournament, 450 waves, right? So it's good. It's great. Feels really good to play. You can get the lining tag. It's really cool. Bad things about Fireball: there is basically only one way to build the tree and make it work, which is the classic, the extra projectiles, homing, flame burst thingy, right? With the pierce. And obviously, you don't have that many points to get creative, aside from that, which kind of sucks. Now, you get the pierce chance on the helmet if you want, you get the plus skills, and you can get some room to create cool things like my latest Fireball, like the lightning one, which is really popular and really cool. It's really fun. You can kite. The homing makes it really safe for arena, because you can just auto the air, and your projectiles are just going to hit stuff. Pretty actually decent single target, because it comes with Fire Shred, and you can stack armor really fast because lots of hits. It's my personal favorite ability in the Mage currently, but you can't compare it to Lightning Blast or Elemental Nova in anything, pretty much. So yeah, I love it though.
Yeah, I believe I was there for that tournament where you pushed it. I think I even suggested you like put the lightning in it. It makes it look fucking.
Yep.
I told you just for the
Yep.
looks, but it also makes the
plasma.
damage.
Yeah.
Go up there. It looks absolutely sick. It's a very
Yeah.
viable skill. You can kill things with it. It's easy to use. It doesn't feel super clunky, especially if you build it the right way. If you don't build it that specific way, it can be
Horrible.
clunky and feel not as fun. I do wish that there were more uniques for it. I wish there was a more powerful Cinderstrike unique for it.
Yeah.
For the multiple projectiles, that would be pretty sick. But unfortunately,
the
it doesn't
level
have that.
the level 10 weapon for like a end game skill is not the best. Yeah.
Flameward.
I mean, what can you say about this ability? You can get damage, you can get haste, you can get damage reduction, extra charges. I love what they did to this ability. The fact that it's super powerful, but it has to be player managed, and you don't have a perma uptime. On the right hands and with the right knowledge, S+ for sure. Great ability. I love the design of this ability. Great ability.
Yep. It's powerful. It's defensive. It's offensive. You can use it for several different things. You can use it to manually cast it. You can do multiple charges. You could put it on auto cast if you have single charge, if you just don't really want to worry about it, but you want it in the background. You can have it only proc when you get stunned if you wanted, or between being
Really
stunned
nice.
and manually casting, And then, of course, you have the retaliation that it provides to where you get a little extra hit every now and then. You can get block chance with it. You can convert it to all three elements.
Block effectiveness.
Yeah, you can have it convert damage
The
from
fire
ward.
aura, right? The fire aura stuff.
Fire auras. You get the damage conversion from ward into mana. You get damage reduction, elemental damage reduction, hit damage reduction. It's a crazy skill that has a little node for every aspect that you could possibly want, and you get to choose where to build it. I've never had a problem where I didn't like. There's always, you wish you had more points for a skill, but for it, it's never a fight. Usually it's like, I want to build it this way, this is the way I go. Or now, this time I want to go offensive, I'm going to build it this way. Like, there's a lot of different versatility with it that you can use for different things.
Yeah, I agree.
So solid S+, especially for a support skill. Very, very powerful.
Yeah.
Not as powerful as Fire Shield used to be, but...
Yeah, Fire Shield, rest in pepperoni, I guess. I had to delete it from the tier list. And I was,
That was a great skill. It was dead there for a while, but back when Fire Shield could retaliate fireballs, it was just absolute bonkers. Then when it gave the elemental resist, so you're just capped with just one skill, it's like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, Glacier.
Glacier, no king rules forever. Now you can do some pretty cool stuff with the mana back, but I honestly think that damage-wise, when they fixed that you couldn't benefit from the crit multi from the targeted version, it's one of those skills that it feels freaking amazing until level 60, right? You can make it, you can do some wonky things with it, but again, why would I play Glacier over Nova or Fireball? It's cool, I love it, I love the sound, the animation is one of the best things in the game in my opinion, that right, it's great, lots of more damage in it. But the fact that, it's an ability that has like 300 or 350 damage effectiveness on the third explosion, and you can't benefit from crit multi, just hurts the soul. You can make it work, if you go full flat damage and full mana, but it takes so much effort for what you actually get. I have to give it an A, personally. Even though if it was a leveling tier list, it would be SS. But yeah.
Yeah, same thing. Super great during the leveling process. It is usable end game, unlike like Disintegrate or something else that feels great leveling and then falls off. It used to be, it was SS back when you could target it anywhere and you had the crit multi, but then once that got fixed, it kind of died. I hope a unique comes that perhaps allows it to be targetable again in the future, and the downside is the fact that you have to wear the unique, not that you lose the crit multi.
The crit multi, yeah.
That would
be sick, man.
That would bring it
Dude,
back.
If they're not bringing it back, I'll find someone who does it.
Somebody who will make that unique.
I'll pay for it. Fuck it.
Yeah, huge AoE, huge freeze chance, one of the best freezing, obviously other than Snap Freeze with the 100% guarantee, but it has some of the highest base freeze rate in the game. You get the multiple hits with it. It has a huge AoE with that third hit. Feels great. If you can stack enough mana to make it to where you can basically just spam the skill as long as it's not against single target, it does work. It is an A tier. Even an S tier, if you can get good damage. The problem with S tier is your survivability goes down because you're not targeting it. You got to be within that range, but it's still totally usable. It's good.
A is not bad, right? A is usable, good, balanced.
A is going to be empowered friendly.
Yeah, you can play it.
Alright, teleport.
I mean, it's a dash. It's good. Goes over walls. You can cap resistances. Cast. You can get some cooldown reduction. You can get elemental damage. You can get the elemental nova. You can get the illusions if you want to go for that. You can get a knockup, the weird knockup, the ward stuff. It's a good. Mobility is always good. Now, is it as good as transplant and shift and launch? No. I still think it's a good skill. I'll probably give it an S, just because it's a mobility skill. You're always gonna use it, and you can do many. You can use it smartly, right, to cap your resistances. If you're using the cold boots, you get the fire res. If you're using the fire res boots, you get the cold res, kind of stuff. Good ability, fun to use. It's cool. I like it, but it's good because it's a movement skill. It's a blink. A blink is always gonna be good. So yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely S tier. I would almost put it on S+. It's very, very close, especially the fact that you can do the mirror images for like decoys left behind. The fact that you can use other abilities that use their skill trees like Elemental Nova and do great damage with them. The fact that you can, get 25% of all your elemental resist and have 100% uptime because you have such a low cooldown. You can get 8 seconds of buffs. It can give you armor.
Yeah.
It can give you stun avoidance. It does knockback. It's a very powerful movement skill. It has a low cooldown, very useful skill. It definitely feels better ever since they updated the animation of it with the screen movement. As for the side with the with the extended cooldown for the no mana cost with the next skill, which really felt like it was meant for a high costing skills, which made sense. The cooldown being that long, you can instantly tell how bad it feels. It just becomes super clunky with a super long cooldown. So, part of the tree is kind of useless for me for that. I'm just going to keep it in that S. It's not quite S+, but it's a great movement skill.
Yeah. Orb.
Volcanic.
Orb for me is it can do crazy damage, right? With the sharpnel, with the shotgunning, you can go the cold version, you can go the fire version, but the tree is so old. The fact that you have to spend literally 10 points in making it like 40 mana and 1 second cooldown, it's kind of kills it for me. Now, it's a really cool skill and I really hope they give it some love, but right now, especially with the new arena maps that don't allow you to kite as well, and the mobs that are a bit more aggressive and so on, I would say it's like good boss potential. It's probably between A and B for me. That's what I would say. Even though it's a really cool skill, but it's probably, to be honest, it's probably a bit like Glacier. It has pros and cons. But I don't know. What do you think?
For me, it's definitely a B. Just for the fact that without idols, it's basically useless.
Yeah. True.
Depending on how you build the skill tree, there's a lot of like things that counteract each other. If you build into the damage and build into the shrapnel, but then you only have a 2-second duration, you get the fire glyphs on the ground or the explosions on the ground, explosive ground, but then you have a 2-second duration, so it doesn't last long enough to actually benefit too much from. It's a great stationary skill that does a lot of damage if it's in the same spot against single targets or bosses. You can group a great kite into it and then do lots of damage. But for me, the main thing, I don't see anyone use it in arena. You don't push with it. You don't use it because it's just too clunky and your survivability is just way too low with it. Because of that, it's B.
And what you just said about the idols, it's actually incredible how much of the idol changes for this patch have shifted also this tier list. Because you had abilities like Orb, where you could get 4 idols, were really good, right? But for example, builds like Nova, where you were using 4 2x2s anyway, actually got buffed. Because now not only they get that, but they can get a few small idols there to get some mana and some resistances.
Yep.
And builds that use huge idols, right? Like cold builds, for example. Now they're got a bit nerfed, right? Because you can only use 2 of them. And the builds that use 1x3 idols are the absolute winners of the patch because they can use 4 3x1 idols and also add either 2x1s with HP or 2x2s for extra, smite procs. So, for example, on Sentinel, whatever you want to do, right? So really, really, really important to keep this in mind when making this tier list too, which so far we're doing, but yeah.
Yeah, that smite combo with being able to mix and match the 1x3s with the 2x2s is pretty
it's
potent.
insane. Before you couldn't do it. Like you had to choose, right? That's really strong.
Focus.
Well, focus. Focus does what focus does, right? I think the old focus was just better, way more flexible on what you could do. I like that you can get the haste. I like the burst. Some builds that go negative really easily can really benefit from the burst you get when going negative. I like that you can get a lot of armor and a lot of damage mitigation while channeling. It protects you against things like eagles on arena and stuff like that. You're getting mana and then boom, you get nuked and hey, actually you're tanky and you don't die. But you don't even need it anymore that much thanks to mana regen anyway. For example, if you're playing Fireball, you can probably just get out on Meteor. You can probably get away without it, right? I like to spec it for safety in arena just in case I need to spam something, but I would say it's like, to be honest right now, if you can find a way on your build to not have focus, you will try to do so. So for that reason, I'm gonna give it a B. Even though that when you use it, it does its job and it does its job well, kind of. But yeah, they need to do something with focus in my opinion. Probably like change it into like a passive with an active component kind of thing, where you get mana, like a bit like warmth in Diablo 2, where you get mana regeneration passively. And then when you activate it, you might get like a burst, right, of X bonus mana or something like that. I know they're planning on it, so we will see what they do with focus. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, its current version, I don't like it. I know many people don't. If you only played the Mage, if you played last Epoch and the Mage was the only class you played, it would feel like a great skill. You'd be like, oh, I can get all my mana back, really fast and use it. The problem is you go play any other class and you get mana back with skills. Something doing damage, something that's giving you mana back quickly, sometimes even ranged. Whereas Focus, you're channeling in one spot, waiting for that mana, and it's just kind of a death. Even if you get it in 1 to 2 seconds, it's just, you're just waiting to be hit by something in that time frame. And it feels clunky, going from a playstyle, say you're playing Glacier or playing Lightning Nova, whatever you're playing, you're going from attacking and moving constantly to just like, where can I hide for 2 seconds so I can get mana to continue doing what I'm doing? To me, I hate that feeling with it. I wish Focus was more of something that if you did spec into it, it was something that procced, kind of like Icelands, where you get like hit. So like, it could be passive, or you activate it, and then every hit that you take while it's active, so you don't have 100, kind of like Enchant Weapon, not 100% uptime. If you take a hit, you gain some mana, or if you stand still while it's active, your mana goes up, so you can just stand still little bits here and there or something, and mana regen jumps up a bit. Or like you said, warmth, those passive type things. But the standing in spot just to get mana just feels kind of dumb.
Yeah, or just have the a passive component for the mana, and actually have an aggressive component. When you focus, you actually get your next spell gets bonus damage, or you could maybe build stack of focus, and when you use them, whatever, like I don't know, we'll see.
Or they could do some interesting things with it. While you focus, every second that you're focusing, a random black hole is generated around you to suck enemies in, so you're protected. Yeah. Something like that would be cool. Or if it has a pushback ability. They have the Force Wave in there, but it just kind of does lightning damage. To me, it's too slow. You still get hit by things because you're standing still. Or, archers or range, they don't get hit by your wave. If that was extended out to where there was like, it emitted a pulse that pushed enemies back or stunned enemies out there for a second, so you could actually, use it, that would be cool. But just in its current form, feels kind of clunky, and I hate it for survivability issues. That's why I always try and go Mana Strike or Mana Regen, just with whatever build I do. Ice Barrage.
Ice Barrage. Well, it's one of those that, if you play Orb with Ice Barrage, there's gonna be a lot of projectiles in the screen, but that's about it, right? And Ice Barrage got some multipliers this patch, right? Which it didn't have, and it can do some decent damage. But again, if you compare it to Fireball, even Glacier, even Lightning Blast, Elemental Nova, it's like why would you even play this? I think for me, it's like probably in the realm of Orb, personally, like B.
Yeah, that's where I'm.
It's a supportive skill too. You're always gonna run it with someone else, with something else, right? So
I enjoy it. You can use it as a main DPS skill, but it's not the most damaging skill. The burst on it feels good. If you aim it correctly, it can do alright damage, ahead of you. It's kind of cool as a secondary damage skill. Just not something you would count on, but something that's there. But for its mana cost, and the fact that it's homing, I wish its ability would be to just absolutely target the nearest enemy instead of fire in the same direction for multiple seconds, but I've said that before. It's just
like a
Yeah, to where no matter as you ran and it was going off, it would be firing towards.
It was like smart.
Yeah, it had smart targeting instead of just homing, which misses most of the time. Yeah, it would be pretty cool. All right, Disintegrate.
I mean, you can do the crazy Ignabar's head thingy and get a shit ton of damage. And you can get pretty tanky on it. But yeah, the range is short. You're channeling. And yeah, it's like if you're gonna channel, why not just play Elemental Nova, right? To me, I mean, I know people like it, and I know people are gonna hate me for this, but I think it's probably like also like a B. Like I don't see a point of playing it other than if you like it. So that's what I would say. It's usable, It kills bosses. It's okay, but
yeah, for me, I put it into A tier for leveling. If this was the leveling tier list, which we'll get to later, it would be one of those SS things. Like I actually did a stream with it. We leveled with it just to see how it felt. It just one-shotted everything through the entire campaign. Yeah. It was ridiculous. Then it just falls off, and unless you use Ignavar's head, unless you do the lightning blast twin beam version of it, your damage kind of falls off really quick. However, the Ignavar head is super powerful. You can have infinite mana doing it that way. You can have huge amounts of damage reduction. You can increase the range, if you get some extra points and build into it. It is super tanky. For me, I put it in A because you can still go quite a ways in the arena. You can still do stuff, but again, it's like Glacier. You can't target it, so it's kind of a little bit clunky, but it's usable and it can do empowered content. Like it does do it.
Yeah.
Arcane ascendance.
Looking at this, I might need to put Marrow Shards higher, because I do think it's better than these things we're putting here.
It's tough here. I mean, Spirit Plague. I feel like it's hard to judge it because it's like Spirit Plague I would use no matter what during the leveling process. But then I think end game it's like never mind. I don't use it.
Yeah.
But Marrow Shards is it has viable, very good ways to play an end game. But if you think about it, you have to have the idols, and then you have...
We'll see. I'm doing my hardcore push tomorrow with the Marrow Shards character. Depending on how high I get, it stays at A or goes up.
I'm going to put it out, and then later you're like, well, I got 600 waves. That's not an A tier.
Yeah, oops.
Yeah. Alright, Arcane Ascendance.
I hate it. I mean, you can get some cool utility, some bonus damage, right? Especially if you don't have it spec leveling, right? You put it on and you get that 100% or whatever it is. But yeah, I would never. I mean, unless you're doing something really specific and you want to benefit from stuff that is really specific. For arena, obviously I wouldn't run it. If you're doing bosses, it has its use. But the fact that if you're interested in doing all the content and not just bosses and monolith or arena, and you want to be shifting towards all, you're probably gonna be unspecking this ability for arena. So, and that's kind of like the content that I mainly do. So I would say I would put it on C, honestly. Like I would never use it. I know it has uses, right? It's not useless, but I just think it's. I hate the fact that I have to press it 2 times and stuff. It's weird for me. I don't know. Maybe I have to give it a bigger chance, but yeah, I don't think it's that great.
Yeah, for me it's the same. It's a skill that you'll use for like testing your damage, bosses, like you said, but it's not something you would use while trying to speed run an Echo. It's not something you'd probably use in Arena where standing in one spot's going to get you killed. The fact that you get stuck in one spot and then you have to hit a button in order to move again, you don't just release a button, but you got to go hit it again. It makes it, it's dangerous, especially if you forget that you put it up, and then you're like trying to run and you're like, gosh, it's a C.
Yeah, we agree.
Which brings us to Black Hole.
Which we know is getting reworked completely.
Oh, it's got to.
Yeah. Aside from all the meme things that this ability has, like Armageddon and all of those things of Meteor, 200 mana cost for casting an Unspect Meteor, and the CC can be good, right? If you're playing a build where you have an open slot and you can choose between running like Snap Freeze or Arcane Ascendance or Black Hole, I would run Black Hole over. So I'm gonna put it at B, just because that Saki has some uses, especially in Arena, to just kite, because it will basically absorb everything except the chargers, right? And if you're playing something that is like targeted, like again Nova, Fireball, you're just gonna group all the mobs. It's gonna increase your DPS quite a bit, right? But yeah, it needs some bluff. The cooldown is absolutely crazy for I don't know. I'm just having PTSD because someone once forced me to push a Black Hole only build in Arena. That was let's move on. What do you think?
It's definitely a B. The pull and the pull strength on it is ridiculous. You can get decent damage out of it, but again, you get rid of the pull in order to run the binary system. The cooldown is just absolutely atrocious. No matter how you build it, it's just bad. Now, I understand it kind of sucks because you have to look at it from the perspective of, well, if you make the cooldown too short, you can have 100% uptime of a black hole, which is too powerful. But I honestly feel like they need to reduce the duration. Definitely really reduce the cooldown to where maybe you can't have 100% uptime. Or maybe the pull of a black hole should get, I hate saying weaker because black holes in general should get stronger over time. But if you had to get weaker over time so you could start putting up multiple black holes, because it's like in Echoes, it's ridiculous. You throw on a black hole, it pulls in mobs, maybe you kill them, maybe you keep running. Either way, it's behind you. You're not going back there. You ran past it, you're going towards the objective. Now you got to wait 13 more seconds before you can cast another one. It's a little ridiculous.
I mean, imagine if you could throw black hole with orb, right? Imagine if you could summon an orb that has the black hole attached to it, right? So not only it's traveling as a volcanic orb, but it's
sucking everything in.
That would
be pretty sweet. I almost feel like black hole should not have a cooldown, and what it should have instead is if you cast it, it automatically gets rid of the previous one and forms the new one. So you're basically just moving it around for a mana cost.
That would be strong, but they would probably have to. The AoE had to be smaller for sure, right? So you had to be very controlling about it.
Yeah. And it could also be the more you movement. So like I was saying originally, where the pull of it is weak to begin with, but it gets stronger over time.
It's stronger over time, yeah.
That way you do have 100% uptime of the pull, but every time you move it, it restarts that pull strength or something.
Yeah.
I just hate the super long cooldown that you have with it.
We will see what they do, for sure. And but yeah. It needs some bluff. It's an old skill.
Yeah.
Really cool, but old.
Meteor. Now this is not lightning meteor, not yet. Just Meteor as it is now.
I think Meteor, if you're playing it with Fireball for the utility, it's pretty nice, right? The Craterborn, like the 250% damage with the cast speed and stuff, and the mana cost on Fireball. That alone, I think it's good. I think if you're playing Meteor on its own, it's kind of like falls into... It's like the opposite of Glacier, where it is targeted. It does hit like a truck, and it does benefit a lot from crit multi, but you can spam it, like Glacier. Or if you spam it, well, you're going to have downtimes, you're going to have to run focus. It's kind of like hard to aim because of the fall time. If you run the multiple meteors, then it's like super turbo random, and you can't really control your DPS. I think Meteor is kind of like a... I mean, if you use it with Fireball, it's definitely S. If you use it on its own, it's probably like an A. I know you can push with it, right? Because again, you can just run around in circles and cast Fireball. Meteor, sorry. It does a lot of damage. And again, we know it's getting this lining set that is going to turn it to absolute bonkers with the damage effectiveness. But as of now, I would put it there. A as a main skill, S as a combo with Fireball.
I put it as A, but we can move it to S. I mean, it might as well pair it up with Fireball. I mean, that's how you're going to use it.
I mean, they're part of the build. Yeah.
Yeah, same for me. Meteor is one of those skills where I like the idea behind it. You know, having this one powerful skill that you can call down to do massive damage. The problem with it is, I think for its mana cost,
doesn't do enough damage. Yeah.
It's not even so much the damage. I feel like the area is the problem. It needs like, I like Meteor from Diablo 2. I think it should be like a much larger AOE, or it should be a Meteor Storm. You know, where it's
like Blizzard kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But the aspect of it right now is just like, it's just not quite there where it needs to be for it to be, you know, not feel so clunky or so dangerous to use.
It's like, especially how the game is played. How is the game played right now? Kite, teleport, kite. Because if you get hit by something, you just explode in like the harder content. Well, Meteor is not. If you have to be aiming, not to mention the visual clutter of that ability is like you cast a couple of meteors and you can't even see the projectiles coming at you, right? So, for that reason, you want to cast it one time every 4 seconds for the buff and cast it far away. You know, I don't even cast it for the damage. I cast it for the buff. I don't even care if it hits or not, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Flame Reave.
Fan favorite. People love this ability with the new ring, and you can get crazy damage numbers in the dummy, right? With Firebrand, it hits for like 1 million or whatever. But I think like as soon as you get out of like the regular monos and stuff and the basic empowereds, and you actually want to do some hard content like arena high, the fact that you have to pair it with Firebrand, even though it's really good and even though it does a lot of damage, even though you get the guaranteed crit, all of that, the lightning combo, all of that, I can't give it more than an A, personally. Really good on paper, but it's just too clunky for me, I think. And I know people loved it, and I know a lot of people are gonna say, "What are you saying? It's really good." Yeah, you're not out pushing any of the abilities in S with with Firebrand. With Flame Reave. No way. So that's why. Like, Harvest is better, right? Because it's 10 times the tankiness.
Yeah. I'm on the fence about it. Like, there are some really good builds, but, you know, the more I think about it, you don't push Arena with it. You're not going to go high corruption, but you do, you know, clear echoes extremely well. You can do good boss damage. I think we could go A with it. It's going to be one of those things where we might as well just throw all the Spellblade skills kind of in that. The Shatterstrike, the Firebrand, they all go together. But
yeah.
But we'll go through one by one.
Yeah. I feel you were mentioning Shatterstrike. I think Shatterstrike is similar. I mean, I do think if you're going for the Firebrand playstyle, I do think Flame Reave is better, right, than Shatterstrike at the moment, just because the AoE is bigger with the ring and stuff. And you have the combo where you can make your third hit always like big as, right? So you combo it with Firebrand, blah, blah, blah. But again, can you compare those abilities to Fireball, Harvest, Wandering Spirits? Absolutely not, in my opinion. And again, I know people are gonna be mad about this one, but well, you push with it, and I'll change it for the next tier list. How about that?
Yeah, if we you just don't see him high up in the arena. I mean, Shatterstrike's gone there a few times because Shatterstrike can be used without Firebrand. You can build its own version, but
not anymore. Like now with the current arena, the damage multipliers, the no ward, the changes on mobs, you know, the change to like.
Well, Shatterstrike won't push much higher,
Yeah, I wonder how high can even Shatterstrike alone can go. You can definitely do really good damage, right? But I mean, you're gonna stop to get your mana back or whatever, and boom, you're dead. You know, I feel arena's too brutal now. You're not allowed that. I mean, if you try to cast Firebrand 3 times on a Pyromancer at wave like 300, it's gonna one-shot you, you know? And again,
Yeah.
if you don't have another bad thing about these abilities is that if enchant weapon is down and Flameward is down, you can't play. And I hate that on Spellblade as a whole. With Mage, you don't feel that way because you're only using Flameward when you need to, right? Or when you want to. Whereas when you're playing Spellblade, you have to use it to engage, otherwise you're gonna get blown up, right? And you're gonna with enchant weapon is half your damage on that character, so feels so bad that you have it up like whatever 8 seconds, but it has like a 14-second cooldown. You're just running around in circles waiting for it to come up. I think it's fine in Monolith because that's what you do. You run around, do your combo, run around, and you just that it fits. But for Arena, which is what I do, kill me.
All right, enchant weapon.
Well, when it's up, really good. When it's down, absolute garbage. So I don't know. Like that's the thing. Like when it's actually what it does is actually good. Attack speed is great. All the shock stuff you can get is great. The mana, it's good, right? But again, like the downtime on it and how bad it feels to not have it up. Because some abilities, if you don't have them up, you want them up, but if you don't have them up, at least you don't feel that you can't play your build, right? Something like Frenzy Totem. Oh, I don't have Frenzy Totem. Well, my build still works, right? But with the Enchant Weapon, I hate it. I'm gonna give it a B. It's a good ability, but the downtime is... I think they gotta do something with this ability, personally.
You hate it that much, huh?
Yeah.
So for me, Enchant Weapon...
And it's good ability, but...
Yeah, I compare it to Flameward. It's something you can't have 100% uptime of, but when it is up, it's a super powerful skill.
Yes.
And you get to choose when you use it. You can have decent duration on it. I believe it comes with a 4 or 5 second duration.
Yeah, you can add 4 more.
And then you can add 4 more. You go somewhere between 8 and 10 seconds is maximum, which is a good amount of time. Enough time to spam all your mana on a skill or something. But the amount of added flat damage that you can get with it, specializing to whether it be fire or cold or whatever you're doing, the increase that you can get on top of that, the attack speed on top of that, it's very, very powerful. So for me, when I use a Spellblade, it's always, it's like a mandatory skill, just like Flameward is. So I put it at S, but if you think
S,
we'll have
let's
to
put
go
it.
down to
Let's put it A. Let's put it A.
How do I make?
Thank God I gave it B.
How do I make it?
If it's not clear, Spellblade is my least favorite class. if it's not clear enough yet. What does static even do? Honestly.
It has some uses.
Yes,
but
when you don't have anything else to do on your build, you're like, maybe you static, get some lightning plus here and there, like.
But now that they've introduced like Surge and new skills, Firebrand, it's become it's D for me because the only thing I've ever used it for was Lightning Blast. That's it. Proc the Lightning Blast.
Yes.
And it's decent, but you're usually using it as a Spellblade, so Lightning Blast is not something you're building into anyways.
Yes.
So it's still garbage. You can use static inside of Surge to do lots more damage. But they actually I think they fixed that to where when Surge does its melee hit, you now only get like 1 hit with all the increased damage, so it kind of killed that off. I don't know if you remember, but you could stack your 200 stacks of static, and as long as you didn't actually use Surge, as long as you didn't use static, you kept the 200 stacks at all times. You could Surge.
So you could use it on Surge all the time. Yeah, I don't think it's like that. Now it consumes them, so...
Yeah, it would give you like a 200% more multiplier with Surge damage, and then you had all that added flat lightning damage along with other things inside of Surge, and it was hitting... Like, you could hit the training dummy for like 4 million damage. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But they kind of killed all that off. So for me, it's just D. It's a skill that I think needs reworked. It would be a great skill for Spellblade, or for Sorcerer. But it's weird that it has Lightning Zap and all these lightning aspects of it, but then it's built for like melee. It increases your melee attack speed. It's like, we have Enchant Weapon, why would I use static?
I think there's a lot of these things in the game, right? Where the devs have these like cool ideas where, we're gonna make a Spellblade, but it uses spells. Or we're gonna make like this like Sentinel that does melee, but it does throwing attacks, right? And at the end of the day, no one uses that because it's just not efficient, right? If you're building melee, you build melee. If you're doing spells, you do spells, because Why would you build for double the things and be just be bad at everything, right? I think the devs have a lot of cool ideas that are not necessarily in parallel to how people play the game, other than if you're just playing for the fantasy and you just want to create something that is cool, even if it's bad, right? Which is fair, right? Bad builds are also have a place, and people have fun creating cool stuff that not every build needs to clear all the content, right? It's fine. But yeah.
Yeah, Spellblade, in my opinion, needs to be revisited because all the melee skills they've given it have turned it into a melee build, and spells really just don't really have an aspect on it too much. I mean, while so many things have synergies for it, the damage is just, the Thunder on Mana Strike, the Lightning Blast, the Zap on Static. It's just things that they just don't do as much.
I think it's kind of a shame because Spellblade is pretty new, right? The last pass they did, and I do think the new schools are cool, Firebrand and Surge and stuff. But I feel like every Spellblade build is the same. Like Firebrand 3 times, do your thing.
If Spellblade could dual wield swords and scepters, it would be amazing
that would
for
be
hybrid.
Cool. Yeah.
Scepters would be fucking. It would take. You'd have that adaptive spell damage. You'd have slow attack speed, but it would.
You could play a true hybrid, right? Because you could build intelligence on your gear. You have the base damage from the weapon because it comes with double, and you could build lightning damage or cold damage, and you would spell both the lightning part and the cold part. And another thing also, when you're playing melee and you're doing elemental damage and you don't have damage conversion, it's like, oh, look, crystal swords. Oh, really nice. They come with 20% attack speed and 200% increased elemental damage. Yeah, but the base damage is physical. Like 40 physical damage or whatever it is. Like, all of this is really nice, but I'm not. Why is it not cold? Like, why is it not melee elemental damage or something like that? Or
adaptive elemental damage?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, that's just a thing as melees in general. Like, why the fuck does spell is adaptive? Or I understand the weapons being physical because they're just weapons, right? And from a fantasy point of view, it doesn't make sense. But for example, if they don't want to change the weapons, they should 100% make Shatterstrike. All added damage is converted to cold, like they do with Detonating Arrow. Fixed,
I think when they revisit those, they probably will. I think they're just that old.
Yeah, they have to. They have to, especially since they're doing it now on the newer skills, right? But yeah. Same for the Firebrand thing, right? The fact that you have physical damage on your weapon and you're scaling fire damage and you have more fire damage on the tree. Well, where the fuck am I getting the fire damage from, Yeah.
Alright, Surge.
It's cool, does a lot of damage. A really long cooldown. If you want to use idols for Surge, then you lose you can get Surge idols with Lightning, but they're like 1x4s, horizontal. So you can't really go. I don't know. I think it's. If it gets some love with the idols and the cooldown, and you can fit in like lightning idols with cooldown and stuff at the same time, I think you could probably do something pretty cool with it. I know people like it. Does a lot of damage. When you make a Surge build, though, I feel like it's again Firebrand, Surge. Wait for the cooldown of Surge. Firebrand, Fire. It feels too rotationy for me. I don't like. This is just my personal opinion. It's not a build. I don't know. It's a cool ability. It does a lot of damage, but for me, it's a B personally. Even though it does a lot of damage for me, but this is more. I'm a bit biased.
I put it in B as well. There are some ways to build it, but for me, it's got some cool aspects aesthetically. The zigzag, the lightning blast proccing off, the immunity, all really cool things. You can proc flame Reave.
Yep.
But it just feels like there's just something about it. I don't know what it is, but like I hate that when you use it and all the lightning blast proc and possibly a flame reave, it takes all your mana. Your mana's gone, and it's like, well, I just used the movement skill and now I gotta focus.
Or for example, if you're building Firebrand to get more damage and crit, and then you get the node that makes it cast flame reave. If you use Surge, it uses the Firebrand stacks, and then your Flame Reave that goes off doesn't have any of the buffs, and that's what you want.
Yeah.
So it's like, And sometimes you're gonna be surging because you wanna be using your movement speed to go fast anyway, right? Even if there's no enemy. So it's like really cool ideas. The slowing down, all of that, really cool ideas. The lightning blast. But when you play the game, it's not what you want, right? Like what you want is you want to spam. I know it's RPGs, it is what it is. Even though we're not the biggest Zoom guys, right? Still, doesn't feel good to feel just like handcuffed, right? Now, if Surge didn't share a cooldown with TP, oh boy, that would be fun. I honestly don't know what they did it, because Surge is only the same way Reaper wouldn't make sense if Reaper Reap shared cooldown with Transplant. That would completely kill that. It would make it so unfun, right? I think they need to do the same with Surge, especially because Surge is only available for Spellblade. And when I think of a Spellblade, I think of a agile mage that goes into battle and So why not? It's a 4-second cooldown anyway. It's not. What are you scared of? That is, I mean, you have rogue shifting every 1 second. Are you scared of speed? Don't be ridiculous. Just give it to it. It's fun. And if you think it's too much, just make it so if you have Surge, make it so if you get Surge, maybe make it a passive points that Surge can be used even if the teleport is being used, but teleport has an extra 2-second cooldown, something like that. There's ways to do it and make it not zoom. But I think it would be really cool to have like being able to dash in and then dash for damage. Would be. I really hope they do something like that, because right now it just feels like you have to choose, and I'll just go TP. Thanks.
I also wish that Surge had a charge thing to it, where you could get multiple charges of it. So you could, save it up and then just go boom, boom, boom. Ever since I saw that Rogue, where they had the multiple shifts in a row in the trailer, I was like, oh my god, that's sexy. Like, that's something cool. Even if you have to wait 10 seconds for all the charges to pick up to do that, but then they got rid of it.
We will get to shift. We will get to shift for sure. But
I would love to see Surge have charges though. That would be cool.
Yeah.
All right, that's it for all of the mage skills for episode 2. Hope you guys enjoyed it.